past haunts us all, whether it be a person, place, or thing we are reluctant to let go. We call to the dead out of desperation and intrigue, searching for answers about what lies behind the shadows. We are paranormal researchers. We are Necromancers. Hello, and welcome to the Necromancer live show. I am your host, Justin Brown. I am a paranormal researcher who interviews other paranormal researchers on this show for a few reasons. For one, I want to get to know the vast majority of the paranormal connections I have throughout Facebook, YouTube, and other social media platforms. I want to learn from them and hopefully grow as a paranormal researcher and contribute and support, their work as well. I believe in doing that, we can establish a stronger and healthier paranormal community doing that. So all the support you can give the show, I would really be happy about. We have a fantastic guest for you tonight. I've been waiting to talk to her in length about everything she's been up to for years, okay? Her name is Patricia Coleman. Before I bring her on the show, I'm actually going to read you a quick bio so you kind of have a general knowledge of what she's about, but she'll elaborate. Patricia experiencing phenomena her entire life. Patricia has spent 30 years researching and investigating the paranormal. What she has learned will be the subject of her first independent film, A Paranormal Life, currently in production. Patricia worked independently until 2004 when she founded the North Coast Paranormal Society, which has been renamed in 2013 to Strange Occurrences Society. Patricia holds a bachelor's in criminal law and psychology and worked as a counselor for over a decade, though she now devotes her time to researching paranormal phenomena and educating others through private counsel and lecture. And without further ado, we will bring her onto the show. Patricia Coleman, what's up?
Hi, everyone. How are you? Hi, Justin.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I can't complain much. I ate entirely too much Chinese food is what I did this evening. I gorged on it. But, okay. You are obviously obsessed with the paranormal. Ever since you're a little, young person, you've been experiencing things. Why don't we start there? What's drawn you into this crazy world of the paranormal? What makes people like you and I seem different and crazy from all the rest of us? What has happened in your life?
Well, I've always been able to see and hear things others haven't seen and heard. I experienced things since I was a child, all the way through my adolescence into my 20s, my whole life, in other words. My life has always been paranormal. The whole reason I had got into researching was, well, to prove I wasn't crazy. I guess that's the way of putting it. I started documenting it primarily to show other people what I was dealing with. And that led me down a long road too. Because, I'm a bit older than you are, and this was not a subject that most people 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you were scoffed at if you told people that, you saw things. It's
Right.
more accepted now, widely more accepted now, pretty much through the advent of the reality shows when they started. But I mean, that's the gist of it. I've always had experiences my entire life. My life is paranormal.
Can you elaborate on some of the experiences? Like, what have you seen and heard that others cannot?
I see ghosts on a regular basis pretty much every day. I've always been
Really?
able to interact with them since I was a child. I never really had a lot of UFO or Bigfoot experiences, though, until I started making this film. And since I've been making this film and going out with people in the field, I have now experienced other parts of the paranormal as well. But yeah, that's been my whole life, just I've always been able to see and hear things.
Okay, I'm curious. What do you hear? Do you hear their actual voice, male, female, all that, do you actually see their full form as they were living, or explain that a little bit?
It's different for every single one of them I see. It's completely different. Sometimes I don't see them at all. I only hear them, and I hear them all the time. I hear more than I see, to be honest with you. Seeing though, I see them either. Sometimes they're full bodied and solid like a human, like you would swear it was a person standing there. Other times they're real misty. Sometimes they're, a partial, where you see from the chest up or just the legs of them. Sometimes you see an outline. It just depends on the specter of the spirit that we're dealing with.
I That's interesting to me on all those different forms. Quickly, I want to have a quick discussion about those different forms. Do you think that sometimes you're actually seeing them with your eyes, like the optics in your eyeball? Kind of like the misty and weird energy forms might be with the eye, but the full-bodied, really detailed stuff. Do you believe that could be psychic imagery?
Well, some of them I know were psychic imagery, some of them were, but there have been a few that I seen solid. I mean, really, really solid. And I would have swore they were right in front of me. I mean, like literally right in front of me. I'd interact with them, even talk to them. There was one at the theater. We have a Warner theater, one of the few Warner theaters that's still in existence here in Erie. And I was there for a film festival, and I heard a guy like, I don't know, he was saying things like poppycock and stuff like that, like old fashioned terminology. And I turned around and I looked at him. He was sitting right behind me. So that one I didn't see, in my mind's eye. I actually saw him and spoke to him and giggled. And the person I was with was like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "The guy behind us laughing at the movie." He's like, "There's no one back there." And he looked right back, and I looked at him. I could see him sitting right there, but the person I was with couldn't see him. But
Wow.
some of them I have in my mind's eye, but other ones I've seen literally with my eyes.
Okay, do you think that's like two different types of, things going on there, or do you think it's all one ability, one sense?
You know, when I would have started this movie, I would have told you one thing, but I've just experienced even things with this film that I don't know. There's just so many different varieties, Justin. It's just like you can't pinpoint one being for one thing or the other. Some I actually think some are even multidimensional. Some I don't even think are ghosts. Some I actually think are multidimensional. There's been a few that I've run into that I think are. So it's hard to tell. Every situation's different.
Right. Have you ever seen anything and captured it on video where they're
Oh,
both
oh
identical?
yeah. Yeah, I've captured it on audio, video, still photography. I've captured them in every way.
Okay, so to me, if you're capturing them using a lens, the optics of the lens, and then you see it the same way, that means that most likely you're using your optics to see in that instance.
Correct, correct.
So,
There's been a few times though that I could hear a voice, but I couldn't see someone, but I could see them in my mind's eye. Like I could tell what they looked like. Yeah, I
right.
could tell they were what they were.
Yeah, it seems like that interests me, like the different variations of what people report and experience. I'm really technical when it comes to understanding such things, and I really want to dig into why. And I always ask, people like yourself what they think and, what exactly is that they're experiencing because I'm highly intrigued and interested in the differences there are when it comes to that
And
phenomenon.
there's a lot of differences in the phenomena that I've experienced. A lot of differences.
Yes, and hopefully, maybe if we're lucky in our lifetime, we might get to the bottom of such things. I am working on scientific tools right now once I get the proper things to maybe find out some things. And maybe we can talk about that after the show in the future
Oh,
if you're interested.
excellent. Absolutely, because I actually am working on a prototype myself.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. Okay, so let's shift gears real quick. Um,
Okay.
what, going through your life, having this ability, have you ha, have you met other people that you can kind of relate to, or has it been really a struggle to not seem so weird and seemingly nuts to people like
Right.
people may be watching with similar abilities or experiences? What advice do you give to them? What insight can you give them, as far as your experience goes through the course of your life? What can you kind of tell them about that?
Well, like you were saying, I in the beginning I really didn't tell a lot of people what I could do. When I hit my teens, it kind of became obvious. And I lost a lot of friends, and a lot of family members called me crazy, and I went through all
Mhm.
that. In the search of finding people like me, I really didn't try in the beginning. That was kind of what the film was for, was me kind of branching out and trying to find others like me who live a paranormal life.
Mhm.
But I've been a little, I'll be honest with you, I've been a little dismayed even in the process of making this film with people in the paranormal community who have turned on me as well, have told me that, well, I'm not seeing it, so it's not true. You can't see it. In other words, I've been to a few events where I've been on even public ghost hunts where I've had experiences, and maybe one other person with me has, but the other ghost hunters didn't have the same experience, so they called us liars and gave us trouble. So I find that a little bit troubling in our own community to see that, to see other people harassing others. We all have a different degree of ability. Everybody has a different degree of ability. Everybody has ability, by the way. Every single person out there, even the ones that don't think they do, it's just to what degree did they open their gift? You know,
Mhm.
um, Mine's open the way it is. I don't know how. I don't know why. It just is. And so it does become difficult finding people that share some of my experiences. I'm still finding difficult, even though I've interviewed a lot of people over the last 3 years. A lot of them have had experiences, maybe not to the degree I have.
How much of it do you think is clash of ego?
A lot, a lot of it, especially with because of the advent of the reality shows and so many people getting reality shows. I think a lot of people out there right now, that's what they're striving for. And a lot of them think that's what I'm striving for, even by making this film. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth. I don't want a show. I never wanted to be on a show. I just wanted to find other people like me and to do a film to let other people see what people like me live like. I mean, to see that there are other people like me that make this their life or it is their life. But I do believe that with the cutthroat attitude, with it becoming an entertainment industry, it has done a disservice to the. I mean, I'm thankful for the reality shows because they kind of let us come out of the closet.
Right.
But in a token, with the fame that a lot of them have gotten, I'm not going to name names, but the fame that some of them have gotten has kind of driven some of the other people in the community to want to assert that fame as well. So then there's a lot of backstabbing. There's a lot of, he said, she said, and that evidence is fake and everything else. And I just think that it's not it's a disservice to the community. Like you were saying, that it's good to talk to each other so we can learn from each other. There's no
Hmm.
reason to let egos come to play because there's no room for egos in this industry. None. Not in
Well,
this field.
in a perfect world, no, 100% agree. But from my knowledge, my limited knowledge, I'm film nerd. Strive to do my own films, as we both know. But it seems like the whole cutthroat and competitiveness of it is baked in to the industry, and that is a problem when it comes to loyalty, empathy, just being grounded and and staying true to who we are and true to the field. And I noticed that early on. Everybody wants to be known. Everybody wants to share their art and their passion and everything they do in whatever format and media they choose to. But my look at it is the science community and the mainstream, you know, platform that people view reality from is based in science right now. And if we can try to push it that way, keep pushing it that way, and try to steer it away from the reality TV and the entertainment industry as much as we possibly can, we can use those platforms to a degree, I think, but we rely on them too much as far as it trying to educate and portray the paranormal field for what it actually is because of all that stuff we mentioned. So I think what I've been trying to do is going to be much more difficult, obviously, but finding ways to put stuff out there that you can base in reality, some type of objective way that the scientific community can look at and appreciate and and not just push aside and not just dismiss it as just some type of charlatan behavior.
Correct. I couldn't agree more with you. I couldn't agree with more.
So when we go out to do these films, as a passion project, I really wish people would just support it. I mean, I'm sure that we can both learn from each other if we would just get to know each other, respect each other, and say, "Hey, oh, what about this?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, I've experienced that. This is, this, that, and the other." Instead of saying, "Oh, wait, I think I'm better than you, and I'm not going to share anything with you because you're my competition." It's a struggle. So,
Exactly, like not sharing locations and etc. Like you were saying, it's just become cutthroat, and we took it from a field to an industry, and I think we need to take it back to a field. You know what I mean? Like you're right. The entertainment industry did have a platform, but we kind of did stray. We kind of strayed from where we were supposed to going to our real objective.
yes. And because the entertainment industry is listening more than the science community right now. But we probably could change that if we try hard enough. Real quick, I have a listener that's asking some questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Scotty is extremely interested in knowing what Patricia has encountered with the paranormal, I guess, specifically, and he's wondering if you have the gear to gather data and what gear that could be, would be, and or does she have gifts that doesn't need a ton of gear? I mean, do you rely heavily on gear? Is there a balance? Kind of elaborate on that.
I have enough gear. How about that? I have enough gear. Um, when people come with me, when my camera people come with me, like I sometimes I'm holding a camera too, but usually they're the ones that have the camera. And we only take a couple cameras and maybe a couple recorders. We really don't take a lot of gear because, quite frankly, you don't need a lot of that stuff. You are your own gear. People would just learn to feel it on their own. You wouldn't need the K2 meters and the ones that light up when they get near it and all that. I mean, I understand that sometimes the equipment's useful, but I think people really need to learn to use their own body even as a gauge.
Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but when I encounter anything paranormal, I usually always can tell because I feel it's like a static electricity. I can usually almost smell an ozone type smell. It's really strange. And right before I hear them talk, I can hear a crackling, a distortion in the atmosphere. So I can pick that stuff up a lot. And if I pick that up and I'm with a camera person, I'm like, look over there. You know what I mean? Make sure you're got a recorder on over there because I can kind of tell what's going on. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And to add to that, I do agree that your body is probably the best tool you could possibly have to not only sense the paranormal, but to identify some things. And what I'm going to put out there. You probably agree. Let me know if you do or don't. But I try at great lengths to collaborate or correlate rather what people sense and feel with what we can detect and back up with data and equipment. If you hear something and you can record the same thing, do double blind experiments, even like bring in an empath, bring in a sensitive to a location, have them data log everything that they feel, see, and hear, and then bring in the equipment and bring in that area and see if we can correlate what people experience as a psychic phenomena or other type of phenomena with the tools. And I think that since the tools are already extensions of our own senses, that way we can validate our own bodies as what is reality. Can you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially for people who aren't used to, the sensations that you do get, the tingling, etc. The tools could be useful to them because if they start feeling it and the tools are going off, next time they go into a location, they won't need to rely on the tools so much because they're going to start getting used to what happened right before they had that sensation before. You know what I mean? They had a sensation and, oh, I'm sorry, the screen keeps blinking out and it keeps bringing up a little picture of you. It distracted me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, tools are important and they can be good tools, but I just don't want people to get too used to tools and not learn how to use their own bodies as well, their own abilities.
Yes, in my experience, I get too wrapped up in the tools, and then I will not connect using my body. And I'm a huge believer in empathic ability. real quick before I get into that, uh,
Okay.
Melissa Vastine says that you look very pretty. I thought
Oh, well, thank
I'd
you,
let you know
Melissa.
that. And I think that like you said, everybody has a natural ability, and I do believe in PK and psychokinetics. I do believe in a lot of parapsychological phenomena as the reasoning behind a lot of things that we experience. But the empath has a huge um, environment for them to not only view the paranormal and experience the paranormal, but give feedback to people who may not be as empathic or open to their own abilities. And I was curious if you had a classification for your own abilities. What do you believe that you possess?
A little bit of everything. I mean, I don't want to call myself just one thing. That's why I usually say I'm sensitive, because it just kind of covers a lot more. Um, I am an empath, a raging empath, in fact. I can hear and see, so that's what clairaudience and clairvoyance. Yeah. So I mean, I have a wide range of abilities, so I don't like to try to put a label on it. I'm a sensitive. It's the
Right.
best way to put it, I guess,
Yeah. I think people are obsessed with trying to smack labels on things, and
on everything.
it's good and bad. I mean, sometimes you can try to overthink things and try to maybe pigeonhole yourself into one category when, like you said, there's a various array of things that people can have the ability to do. And
Correct.
I just sometimes I just want to step away from being the science guy. That helps me not feel crazy. People think we're liars all the time. People think we're
Oh,
crazy.
absolutely.
So being the science guy kind of helps me feel better about that. But me and you both know that science is not doing a good job of explaining the paranormal phenomena right now.
They're
And
getting there. They're getting there,
we're
little by
trying.
little, baby steps.
We're trying. It's trying, but you cannot push back the truth behind what people have the abilities to do. Because my mother, she's the main reason why I'm into the paranormal in the first place. She is so talented and has so much ability that's far beyond my understanding and capacity to rationally cope with all the time. I'm 38 now, and I take her out and have her do walkthroughs, and I document the whole thing. And just the stuff that she's able to hit on amazes me. It's like it should be physically impossible for her to know the things she knows and can do the things she can do. And knowing that, you have to know or realize and accept that other people can do it too, and that it's real.
Yeah, but they still, even the ones that even do have abilities, if they don't have an experience, sometimes they let their ego get to them. Because what I have found out, like I've gone into locations where, and I know the other people I'm with are gifted as well. I've worked with them in the past, and one of them will have an experience in the same exact room, but we won't,
Right.
and they and people don't understand that, so they automatically call you a liar because they don't understand it, so they call you a liar, instead of just saying, hey, I don't understand, how is that happening. I've come to realize that, especially when dealing with spirits, is they pick and choose who they want to talk to or communicate with. Sometimes they'll pick the whole group, sometimes they'll pick one person,
Right.
and the other people can be gifted and they won't get the information either. Even though the recorder could pick it up, the other people won't hear it as well. So I've had a couple run-ins over the last, I don't know, decade or so, where people have let their ego get in the way, and then they went and started crap and said, I was lying, and oh, she's just full of it. And I just get used to that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm a weirdo, I'm a liar, whatever. But you can't let that get to you. That's their growth. They'll learn, they'll find out on their own. All we can do is keep doing what we're doing, just showing them and educating them and trying to help as much as we can.
Right. I have a possibility that you may or may not have thought about. Um, the way I view the paranormal phenomena when it comes to other people experiencing or picking up things and others not, I believe that most of the phenomena is in a state of flux or phasing in and out. And there's different frequencies and different vibrations involved. So if that is true, everybody is trying to tune in and connect with those all the time. So the analogy I like to use, and the one I'll use now, is consider a police scanner. What it does is it constantly scans through the frequencies, so the strongest ones that come through, it hits and stays on, so you can know what's out there. Okay, so the human body I look at as a scanner of paranormal phenomena. The sensitive is a ghost scanner. Now that may, I've tried this. If you put multiple scanners, even the same ones next to each other, they will not scan the same. Okay? They will scan sometimes slightly differently, sometimes completely differently. Okay? And it's hit or miss. So if you put different people with different abilities and magnitudes of abilities and capacities, that's going to happen. What do you think about that?
I agree with you because I'll elaborate even a little bit further because everybody's has a different frequency. Everybody has a different vibration, different frequency they emit. I've also come to find out that what you vibrate at is what you attract. So if you're vibrating at one frequency, but someone's vibrating at a different one, they may be attracting one thing and you're attracting a different one. And i.e., negative things, like people call them demons, etc., malevolent spirits. A lot of times people will have more interactions with those than they will positive ones, and it's usually because they're riding on a lower vibration. So lower vibration things are what will be reflected back at them. Same thing if you're on a higher frequency. I went through a couple years of some really bad times, and during that time, I'm sure I was probably in a low vibration. I was distraught, I was depressed, and at that point, all I had was negative things. I had very malevolent spirits. I had nasty things around me. And as soon as I got through, everything up here and started vibrating at a higher frequency, I didn't have that problem anymore.
Interesting. So, when it comes to, real quick, I got another question that I want to bring up. Let's say Catholic priests, all right? They've been documented as doing very bad things. Okay? So when you have somebody that's trying to vibrate in a certain way, um, end up doing something really evil, what do you think happens? What's the spiritual mechanic that you think is happening with that?
I'm sorry, say that again. What do you mean?
Okay, the bad things, the Catholic priests. Well, the majority of things that are bad that they do is they rape and molest children. Okay,
Hmm?
that's prominent. Um, I'm sorry to say that, but it is. But they're supposed to be the head of their church. They're supposed to be held high when it comes to purity and when it comes to trying to vibrate in such a way that you're speaking about in a positive way. What makes you think that they revert to such evil acts?
Well, the positive vibration in front of the in front of the congregation could just be a Faust. They might be lying. They might be pretending. If they're the ones that are actually molesting these children, they're more than likely riding on a low vibration all the time.
So, do you think any type of like sexual repression that they go through, like the celibacy and all that, do you think that's a factor, or do you just think that all of them are just raging evil homosexual freaks? Or, I mean,
No, I think the repression has a lot to do with it. If you want my opinion, I
hmm
think the church should probably reevaluate the whole they shouldn't marry and such. I don't think it's going very well. Do you?
no, well, that's why
But
I bring that up because the vibration. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you probably know a lot about chakras and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And when you don't let the certain type of chakra vibrate in the way it should, you're going to have some
It
problems.
closes them down. Yeah.
So I always thought that was interesting. I don't want to get off down the rabbit hole with that, but
Yeah. Right. Right.
I always thought it was interesting, how people, that's one of the main things people like me and you are trying to figure out. Why would I see something when you don't, and why do you see something and I don't? They automatically think, well, they must be lying or they're hallucinating or whatever. And in fact, they're actually seeing something that you're not seeing. And I have researched a few things that I'm going to send your way that I want you to take a look at, but we won't get there on the show. I actually want to start talking about this film you've been working on for a very, very, very long time. Why don't you tell
Yes, you're right.
everybody?
A very long time.
Why don't you tell everybody quickly what the name of it is and a quick thesis of it, and then we'll let them see the trailer you just released.
Okay. It's called A Paranormal Life, and it's pretty much me bumping around the country, finding other people like me and like you who live a paranormal life. You know, whether they're people that are actually sensitive or not. There are people out there that are not like me. You know, they're not sensitives or seers, but they definitely live a paranormal life. I mean, they lecture, they write, they go all over the country. You know, they do ghost exhibits and all this other stuff, and this is their life. So I mean, when I started filming people, it wasn't just people like me. I was trying to find more people like me, but it's a little hard. But I did find a lot of very dedicated researchers out there that for no money, you know, they're not getting paid. And most of these people actually pay money, you know, to go to these conferences and go all over the place. But they've dedicated their life to the pursuit. And I wanted people to realize that there are a lot of us out there. You know, there are a lot of us out there that are doing this, and we're not all nuts. And I also wanted to showcase the work of a lot of researchers. There's a lot of researchers out there doing some very good work right now. Some scientist-minded ones that I've worked with. So that was kind of the reason why I did this. I just kind of decided to show the world what it's like to live a paranormal life.
And with that being said, we'll let you see this trailer she's put together, and we'll talk about it more. Stand by, Patricia.
No problem.
Mute this.
Ghosts, monsters, and otherworldly visitors, the subjects of campfire tales and Hollywood blockbusters alike. But are they merely myths and legends? Or could they be reality for some?
What am I looking at?
Experiencing phenomena my entire life.
I just heard somebody else standing right here.
I set out on a journey to explore all things considered paranormal.
Did you just hear that?
And to find others, like myself, who live
Alrighty. Lots of questions and lots of things to talk about with this. Let's start with the people that you've been privileged to meet and work with on the film. I've seen a lot of faces there that I recognize, and some of the viewers probably do too. What's your favorite person you've talked to so far that's going to be on the film that you can talk about?
One of my favorites was I just went to Fort Worth, Texas this last August and worked with Nick Redfern. He is an author and a Fortean, and he's been on Ancient Aliens. If just to sit and talk to Nick, I mean, of course I'm gonna do a behind the scenes disc with the DVD that's going to have like the extras and the extra interviews, because Nick's interview was so amazing that I want everyone to see the entire thing. I mean, we went on and on because the guy is just so knowledgeable. It's unreal. I mean, how much knowledge he has, his knowledge bases. I really enjoyed, in fact, the entire trip that I took was Rob Demarest from Ghost Hunters International and Lyle Blackburn from Monsters and Mysteries and a few other programs, and Nick Redfern. Those are the three I worked with in the summer, and that was a wonderful experience. A couple others was Rosemary Ellen Gully. I just adore her. She's amazing to talk to. Brian Cano, a lot of fun. I got to go do a group investigation at Rolling Hills with him, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know. I've met a lot of people. Reverend Neil Farley, amazing interview. And when people see a lot of his work, they're going to be astonished. There's just too many to mention. There's so many. There was a lot of great people that I worked with.
So,
a lot.
Shifting gears, you've been doing you got some UFO and alien content in your film, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Never even had an experience. I never like, I don't know, maybe like once when I was a teenager, I thought I saw a UFO in the sky, but since making this film, I cannot believe I've got quite a few of them on film too. I mean, a lot of them. I do believe in the teaser, you see that one that's like splitting apart and you hear the
Mhm.
guy go, "What am I looking at?" We were filming that the year before. So last year when we went to Baltimore, Maryland to work with Reverend Neil Farley, and then we went to Virginia to work with Clay Smith and Joy Andresan. On our way to Virginia, I just happened to look up and we could see them. They were there, and I was like, "What the hell am I looking at?" And I'm like doing 65 miles an hour on this freeway, and my camera guy has got his arm up on the dashboard. That's why it was shaking. He's trying to hold it while I'm doing like 70 miles an hour. And we literally watched it split in half. And then I saw two Black Hawk helicopters coming toward it, and then it disappeared.
Wow.
So that one, and then I've had, I don't know, probably about 3 experiences with UFOs since, and I've got them all on film too.
Nice. Also, I seen a reference to CE5, and that's something that a lot of people may not know about. I want to talk about that real quick. It's
Okay,
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And
correct.
have you have you done any of that for the film?
Yes, actually, I did work with a group in the Cincinnati area of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be in the film as well, and a couple of the gentlemen that I spoke to will be in the film, Ron and Brian. Uh, but we did do an experiment with them. That one didn't. It wasn't as fruitful. That experience wasn't as fruitful. But I've done a few other CE5s, and it's a very interesting concept. I tell you, one of the experiences we had that we got on film was doing a CE5. And it's like I can't wait until people understand what CE5 really means, because CE5 means that you meditate as a group to bring the UFO to you.
Right.
Yeah. So very interesting, and there's a lot of information about that that'll be in the film.
Yeah. The first film that I watched that really educated me on was Sirius, and it's really far out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I'm like, that's definitely fringy stuff. But if you are open minded about it and go out there and just see if there's any truth to it, how amazing would it be to call in an alien craft by psychically calling to it? I mean, that's nuts.
Asking for them to come. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, meditation is very key, of course. Getting yourself grounded and centered is extremely important when it comes to CE5 work. Like, you can't go out there drunk in a field and just start staring at the sky hoping they come down. I mean, you have to actually meditate and get into a state. And like I said, I actually filmed a CE5 that we did in Cincinnati, so people can kind of get an understanding of what a CE5 is.
It's like a UFO seance.
Pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And it freaks me
Very
out.
Very interesting though, and we did it here. A friend of mine was in from Boston, and I was explaining it to her, and we went out into my backyard, and it was during the middle of the day, because in fact, a lot of the UFO sightings I get during the daytime. I don't even get them at night. So we were in the backyard, and I was telling her about the CE5 and everything and how to do it, and her and I sat there, and we concentrated, and we looked up, and she goes, "Oh my God, is that one?" I go, "Yeah." And we were looking at one right in the sky, and she didn't believe it at first, but then when it kept blinking in and out and then separating, and then she finally understood that, yeah, this really is happening.
That's nuts. That's absolutely
Yes,
crazy.
that and the Bigfoot work. I never did any of that before until this film either. I never went out exploring in the woods looking for Bigfoot or anything until this film. But I even had one experience with that too.
Where did you go to do that?
That was in Livermore, PA. It was probably one of the best investigations I've ever done. In fact, that was with, I don't know, there was like 3 or 4 groups there that day. Maybe there was 3, me and 2 other groups. So we went to film them doing their thing, and we had an amazing experience that night. I mean, seriously, we even found a print in the trailer, in the teaser. Did you see that
Mm-hmm.
one Bigfoot print?
Yes.
We are the one. In fact, it was my producer Audrey that caught that when we were walking over this bridge. And Livermore, PA, used to be like a small industrial town, and then because of the floods that were happening in Pittsburgh, they decided to dam it up and flood the town out, as a part of saving Pittsburgh and another city. I can't remember what the other city was, Johnstown maybe. And so it's now a part of the state park system, but people have had experiences down there. There's a little cemetery there too. I mean, they've had experiences from Bigfoot, believe it or not, werewolf sightings, which was peculiar,
That's normal.
as well as ghost sightings. Place. Well, it was funny because the day that we went there with these groups, we all kind of walked around and everything on the trail. And we went to go meet the one group at the end where there was this tunnel, this underpass. And as we were walking, there was in fact, one of the guys that came said, well, I'm here because of the werewolf sightings. I go, werewolf sightings? And he was from the area. It's near Blairsville. And he goes, yeah. And he told me this whole story about how one of the little Wiccan shops, some guy went in there and said he was going to be going to Livermore and he was getting stuff for a werewolf spell. And so he goes, I came down here one day and I caught some people down here. I don't know. They had wolf heads on their license plates. I mean, the whole story was insane. So we take this walk down, me and my camera guy, and we found this set of clothing. And this is right during a full moon cycle, by the way. And we found a set of man's clothing laying there, like somebody had just took them off and dropped them and went into the woods. So you can only imagine, the guy just told me the werewolf story, and then we saw that. But it was in that evening that we actually were with Brian Seach and his crew, and they were doing Bigfoot calls, and we got a call back. We got a really loud call back, in fact, like a really loud one. And that was in the same area where we found the footprint too. So it's kind of interesting. I've never experienced any of that, but in this film, I go out and do all of it. I go out in the field doing Bigfoot research and UFO research and CE5s. And I mean, we did just a little bit of everything.
I know both. There's a place that we both have been to, a little town called Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
I love it there.
Yeah. If you haven't been there, it's the history behind the Silver Bridge tragedy and the sightings, and just the history when it comes even back to Cornstalk. All that history wrapped up.
Yes, Cornstalk's curse, because a lot of people don't even know about that.
Oh, people like me and you do.
Of course. And in fact, Justin, the little town Livermore that I was in, and there's one called Cokeville, and there's Tin Town, and they're all in that area in Blairsville. Believe it or not, they have an odd connection to Cornstalk and Cornstalk's curse in Point Pleasant.
Yes. Talk about it a little bit.
It was the areas like Livermore and Cokeville and all them. There were a lot of the Indian massacres going on at that time too. Because if you know anything about Cornstalk, there was what was it, Lord Dunmore? Yeah, it was Lord Dunmore that was stationed in the Point Pleasant area. And the Indians and, of course, the whites were fighting horrifically. And it was Cornstalk that, after the incident that happened in the Blairsville area, or maybe it was in the Ohio River area, he decided to go there, if you remember the story, to try to find peace. And that's when they killed his son in front of him and then buried him, to his neck? And let him die that way? I do believe that's how the story went. And that's when he...
Not that I remember.
Oh, really? Because the research that me and my researcher went and did, we found that he was supposedly buried up to his neck. And they killed his son in front of him or something. Regardless of how it happened, he was supposedly tortured and killed by Lord Dunmore and his people, and that's when he put his curse out.
You may be right. I will have to go back and look at my resources. What I remember is, like you said, Cornstalk was trying to have peace, and they would let Cornstalk come back for peaceful terms back and forth between Fort Randolph and the area. Now, what had happened was, two white men had was killed over there by the river at Point Pleasant, and Cornstalk was already visiting Fort Randolph at the time, and a lot of the soldiers in retaliation would not let Cornstalk leave. Okay, and they end up capturing his son, and what I remember is they actually shot him and his son together in the cell that Cornstalk was being
I'll have
held
to
in.
see the stuff that I have, because I have a different paper that says something else.
Yeah, we need to straighten that out, because I definitely want to get that straight, because I actually put that in the documentary.
Absolutely.
So we will let you all know who was wrong. It might be me, but
Could be me.
Cornstalk was definitely shot in his cell at Fort Randolph, right?
See, I don't know. The story that I got from the other researcher I was working with said that he was actually buried up to his neck and that he was left there to suffer.
His son or Cornstalk?
He was Cornstalk.
Yeah, see, they even have pictures at Point Pleasant of the whole depiction of Cornstalk.
I know that whole thing on the wall, and it's that thing on the wall.
Yeah, and he was
That
actually
girl?
shot in his cell, and that's a whole curse. That's how
I'll have to get my research papers and email them to you.
Let's see me that should be on the net. I want to see if I can bring up now I can't help to know. Cornstalk's death for Randolph. I gotta know now. Sorry guys. I gotta look. There's an image that I used in my documentary. Yeah, here it is. And it's the smallest freaking picture you can imagine.
Of Cornstalk?
This picture is small. I'm going to try to blow it up so people can see it. Yeah, it's the depiction of when Cornstalk and his and the people who's with him is being shot. Now, what the viewers are looking at now, Patricia, is this is what's on the wall, the flood walls at Point Pleasant. It's a picture of Cornstalk in a cabin at Fort Randolph with like 6 muzzles being pointed at him from soldiers. And the story goes is he was gunned down at Fort Randolph and buried there. And that's
Oh, I do know that he was buried there. I do hear he was buried there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's besides all that, the curse is what started the legends there.
Yeah.
And then when people started seeing this Mothman type creature, which the Native Americans have their own legend of the Thunderbird, and people like to correlate the Thunderbird with the Mothman because there's a lot of similarities there. And once people started seeing that, then the Silver Bridge collapsed, and then the whole Men in Black phenomena started happening. And it's so awesome to go down there. If not,
I love going to Pleasant. I love that trip. I've been there twice now, and I plan on going back next year.
Yeah, we need to meet up down there. We need to do something.
Absolutely. Especially the TNT fields. Have you been down there? Of course you have. What am I asking?
They're Bunker 3, and that the most visited row, Bunker 3, it's got the most foliage around the actual igloo and the entrance to it. I get an EVP in the exact same spot right outside the door there. And I think that people go in there and stir up stuff. And weird things happen out there. Now, as far as seeing Mothman, I severely doubt that I'm going to experience that. But people going there and messing around with this, that, and the legends sprouting out all this tourist attraction, it has stirred up all kinds of other stuff. Have you experienced any of that?
Well, let me tell you, when we were there the first year, that was the year that you and I were supposed to meet up there and didn't get a chance to. We were out there filming at the TNT fields. It was the night before the actual festival started. And we were with a bunch of people. And we were walking to our cars on that side road, and a truck started coming down really fast. So we moved off the road, and we were standing on the side, and you hear this guy go, "You all looking for Mothman?" So we turned around, and it was a local. So we walked up to his car, and he proceeds to tell us a story that back in the 1980s, there was a gentleman, a local, that had lost his job, lost his girl. It sounded like a country song. He lost everything, you know? And he ended up moving out to the TNT fields. Well, if you don't know, behind the TNT fields, there's like a hunting ground and a shooting range. So he was apparently living in TNT fields. No one knew it. And a hunter ended up getting murdered out there by him. He went like crazy and killed a hunter in one of the igloos. And the guys told me, he goes, "Go ahead and look it up. You can look it up. It's public knowledge. It's public history."
What? I never heard of this.
Yeah, I have the guy on film telling it in the whole story. The whole story will be on my film.
Wow.
So he tells us which row it is. He tells us which igloo it was. He said there, he goes, "They found all these pentagrams in there," and he's going on telling us the story. He goes, "So go to that igloo and you'll go find it. You'll go see it." So me and a couple people decided to go down that igloo and go see. And we go into the igloo, and it was just like out of the Blair Witch Project. We walked in, and there were 2 guys standing in the corner with their backs turned to us, and we screamed. You know, we walked in, we didn't expect anyone in there, and they had a pentacle on their shirt. It was weird because the guy had just told us that that's the one that they found pentagrams and stuff, and this guy had a pentagram on his shirt, and we walked in and scared them as much as they scared us, and then they left. And yeah, it was a strange story though, but he did tell us that there was a guy that was caught, and they found pieces of journal pages all over the thing. After they caught the guy that did it. They found his journal spewed all over that inside of the igloo. And there were times that he was writing, oh yeah, there's another hunter walking by. I think I'll kill this one too. Like he had planned on killing a lot of people. So luckily he only got the one guy, but this guy went mad while he was living out there and was planning on killing a bunch of people. So that area does have its own weird history to boot. A guy was killed in that area.
I did not know that, and I cannot wait to see
Go
the
back?
film. Just that alone has me very intrigued because, you know as well as I do, people go out and start energizing and fueling these places with their own energy and their own intent, and you'll just get a clusterfuck, for lack of a better term, of paranormal phenomena occurring out there.
And a lot of times it has nothing to do with the so-called legend. In my opinion, a lot of it has to do with their residual and what they're bringing there and all the energy they're leaving.
Yes.
You know, it's like a Topol effect. It's like a Topol effect that you know, enough of us go out there and keep going to these legend spots and believing in it, we could be creating it. It may not even existed prior to us believing in it and going out there. You know Moonville Tunnel. Have you been to Moonville Tunnel?
Oh, yeah. I've been there since 2013. I heavily cover it.
So I went to Moonville the last time I went to Mothman, which wasn't this year, it was the year before that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what I picked up as an empath and as a sensitive. I picked up that a lot of it was just human energy. You know, teens going on legend trips and, you know, people scaring each other and people all going out there with the same idea. Not to say that there's not someone out there, because I did catch one guy out there. There was one man that I caught out there. He's in the front of the tunnel, and I got him on audio twice.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I got him twice. You know, I guess there is a train car conductor or something that's supposedly haunting it?
Brakeman. And
Okay, break.
the only photograph, I'm a photographer by trade. The only photograph that I can explain as, you know, anomaly caused by light or optics is at Moonville. And I don't know if you've seen it. I even have a Facebook blog page. I have a documentary. If you ever have time, check it out. But I have a photo of this white, completely white, misty, humanoid, you know, person walking right down the middle of the tunnel at night where there's nobody. And it's bizarre. And like you said, the voices out there are crazy. I've recorded voices out there that I could not believe that you can hear with your own ears. And there's a little girl out there that sounds like a little girl. And I had a conversation with her too. But what's fascinating about Moonville Tunnel is, like you said, people go out there every single day. All
Oh my
year,
goodness, I can't believe how many were when we were there.
Yes. So, the Crybaby Bridge legends, the tunnels, people go to these places and they imprint paranormal phenomena there based on their own beliefs and their own, you know, psychokinetic emanations. And that is one of the most fascinating things that I love to learn more about when I do this thing is people are experiencing things that have nothing to do with life after death. It's all about what they're emanating from their own psyche.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think it's crazier than spirit phenomena, to be honest.
I do too. We create our own things sometimes.
A lot of the time, yeah. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have a hard enough time getting the paranormal community to believe in some of this stuff, and this stuff just sometimes blows their head off, you know? Because there's a lot of people in the paranormal community, when I start talking this way, they're just like, huh? What?
Yes. Unfortunately, we're winding down. I could talk to you for hours, of course.
I know,
this.
we should sometime. You need to come up to Erie sometime so we can go and hit a couple places.
Well, yes. I would like to do that, but we probably should do Point Pleasant together. And since you like Moonville so much, we probably should. It's not that far away from there.
No. We had a
So
weird experience there too. We couldn't leave there, Justin. We couldn't even leave there because every time we left, something kept happening to my GPS and it kept screwing it up and it made me go right back to Moonville. I kept going around like a circle.
there's no
And
cell
at one
service
point I
out
was
there
like,
that's
I'm never going to get out of here. I was almost in tears. I was like, what is going on? I could not get my GPS out of there.
yeah, GPS is unreliable out there. It's really the foothills of the Appalachians are really bad right there. But we will try. There is an annual festival at Moonville, just like there is at Point Pleasant. So maybe we
No
can.
kidding.
Yes, it's called Midnight at Moonville. It's the third Saturday in October. Just follow my stuff and you will find out when it is.
Oh,
We
I'll
usually have
ask.
a booth, so we may just try to do it on the festival days. Is that when you're going down to Point Pleasant next year? Is for the festival?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so we will
I would
try
love
to
to
do
go back.
that. We would try to do that on the Mothman Festival and the Moonville Festival because that would.
I'm you are.
Okay, well we'll try to do that. We'll try to hold each other to that. So why don't we use the last couple minutes? I'll let you plug the film again and all the places people can find what you do and your work on the internet. I do have your YouTube channel and all the other links you gave to me in the cards of this video and in the description, but go ahead and tell them verbally as well.
Okay, you can catch us on Facebook, A Paranormal Life Movie, or the YouTube channel, which I don't remember any of the URLs for any of it. And that's pretty much it. I'm not real big social media girl. I know I get yelled at about that all the time. I know I need to get a Twitter page and etc. But that's all I have right now is just the Facebook page and the YouTube page that you posted are the two that they can find out.
Awesome, awesome. And when do you think the film will be out?
Well, it was supposed to be out this year, but like I told you, between my grave illness and then, my mother recently getting diagnosed with cancer herself, this year's been kind of a wash. So I will definitely probably have it out more than likely. See, do you like how I did that? Definitely, probably more than likely. I'm aiming for the spring.
That'd be
So
awesome.
spring 18. It was originally supposed to be out by this December, but like I said, life happens sometimes in the middle of doing things, and so I had to put things off. So I'm looking at the spring of 2018.
Now, Patricia, I'm going to say this to you, and I want to let you know I'm serious about it. If you need any help with the film, anything,
Okay.
little or big, you know how to get a hold of me, right?
I thank you very much, and I definitely will take you up on that.
I know how it is, and I know that money doesn't grow in trees, so any
Oh, yeah.
help is appreciated. I mean, at any rate, I could at least, you can if you do this sort of thing. Some filmmakers will release their film to other filmmakers to let them see it before it's released, just to get feedback. So if you do that
Absolutely.
sort of thing, I would do that for you, and anything else you would like, I'll help.
I appreciate it very much, and I will definitely take you up on that, Justin.
Alrighty. We will let you get out of here. Please check out Patricia's YouTube channel. Check her out on Facebook. Support her film. I guarantee you it's not going to be something that you're going to want to miss. There's a little bit of everything. UFOs, Bigfoot, Mothman, ghosts, you name it. It's going to be on there. And I can't wait to see it. And it's going to be freaking awesome. I know it is.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I will let you go, Patricia. You can hang out on the phone if you want, or you can go, but I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to do a little promo here at the end. But you have a good night.
You too.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. All right, there you guys have it. Patricia Coleman. She's super awesome, super interesting. You are not alone in the paranormal because Patricia is there every step of the way to share her experiences with you. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of them that are the same and maybe different, and you get to learn how different they are. Thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. Scotty donated another $5 on Super Chat. That's always very much appreciated. We're going to end the show with a little bit of social plugs here. We got our Patreon links here. If you want to support my paranormal research team on Patreon, the link is in the description. It's in the cards, and the URL is up on the screen. Check us out on Facebook, the Necromancer Show, and you can check out Interface Death on Twitter and on Instagram. The patrons are Matt Benton and Clay Borman. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, please, the description's and link there. $1 a month is all I'm asking for. If you want to do more, there's awesome rewards for pledging on Patreon. So definitely check that out if you like what we do and you would like to help in more ways than just supporting the show. So there you have it, guys. You guys are in my hearts. I love you all very much. Next week, let's see who's on the show next week. I do not want to butcher his last name, but I think it's Gert Brouwer. Okay, I don't know much about Gert, but that's why I like doing the show is I get to meet all these people that I've been connected with on Facebook and such. So we're gonna get to know Gert next week, and I'll leave it there. Check out Necromancer next week at Wednesday at 9 p.m. EST. Check us out at interfacedeath.net, and until then, I bid you farewell.